Part 18. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 171. When the battleship arrived at Muyuan Star, it was almost evening. There are several battleships and starships of various sizes docked outside the starry skyport of Muyuan Star. Although they are not as spectacular as Fenyuyu's Phoenix battleship, they are still very impressive. Bai Qianchun noticed their existence at the first sight on the battleship. It seemed that she underestimated the outside world's curiosity about Jupiter, and their arrival speed was half as fast as she expected. But think about it, the Phoenix battleship can compress time, and she understood that it took 2 hours faster to travel from the shaking light star to the Jupiter star. It seems that the speed of battleship starships is different. Bai Qianchun only took one look and then withdrew his attention. In the evening, the fiery brilliance of the Huoyuan star obscures it, and the tall green plants on the Muyuan star are bathed in the red light of the sunset. Standing on the battleship platform and looking around, everywhere you look is submerged in green. Starting from the starry skyport, a road has been cleared out directly into the interior of Muyuan star. The sparkling river runs through most of the green forest. Along the river bank, the area around the upper row of dwarf tree houses and the adjacent tree houses is tied with red satin, swaying in the wind and flying far away, like a fairyland. But at this time, Bai Qianchun had no intention of seeing any beautiful scenery here. As soon as the battleship docked, she said hello to Cao Jiajia and Cao Ting, jumped off the battleship without looking back, and then jumped onto the giant tree at the port. Using Qinggong, the whole person flew away from the trees more nimbly than a swallow, and in the blink of an eye the figure disappeared into the dense green. Fenyuyu walked out with Zhuangshu, and could only see the last trace of her disappearing back. The smile on his lips faded, and he looked at the giant green forest, his delicate brows slightly frowning. Zhuangshu, who was following him, had a look of surprise on his face. Is that Miss Ancient Doctor? Why did she leave early? Hearing the voice, Cao Jiajia turned around with a look of confusion on her delicate face. I don't know. I said it was urgent and then left. Cao Ting looked at the giant forest quietly in trance. If anyone paid attention, they could tell that he was not in his usual state of wandering in a daze. There was a bright light in his eyes with light emotions. The incidental attribute of the awakening of the Muyuan Star Master is huge, so are the medicinal materials planted here also huge. Have the medicinal properties become stronger or have become weaker due to the dispersion of hugeness? With the blessing of the wood source star, is this place more suitable for growing medicinal herbs? Should he allocate a piece of land on Muyuan planet specifically to grow medicinal herbs? For a moment, Cao Ting had various thoughts in her heart, but her face remained calm as she followed the others and walked off the battleship. Cousin. Suddenly a happy female voice sounded, and then not far from the left, a girl with curly hair as long as seaweed and a smile as delicate as a rose ran over in a hurry. She wore a bright red double-breasted hollow lace palace long-sleeved top, paired with a small black leather skirt, and a pair of short boots. Her long white and thin legs were beating, and she ran past Cao Ting, bringing with her a burst of sweet fruity fragrance. After that, she stood in front of Fenyuyu. Hey, cousin, surprise or not, I'm here too, Fentane happily shouted to Fenyuyu sweetly with a big smile on her face. Fenyuyu rubbed his forehead, glanced at the cousin in front of him with a headache, and asked, why are you here? Fentane said with a smile on her face, what's wrong with me here? I followed Sister Beining here. What's wrong? By the way, Sister Beining said that you also want to bring your sister-in-law to Muyuanxing to relax. Sister-in-law woolen cloth. She poked her head around and looked behind Fenyuyu with a mischievous look on her face. When she didn't see the figure she was expecting, her smile fell slightly, but soon she became gloating again. Hee, my cousin can't be so mean. He hasn't coaxed his sister-in-law back yet. Fortunately, he still promised Sister Beining that he would bring her with him this time. It's just because Sister Beining doesn't know that her sister-in-law dislikes him. He ran away from home, so he lied. The dignity of a grown man, tisk tisk. Fentangui gave him a contemptuous look. But Fentangui's words had another meaning in Zhuangshu's ears. Ah, the chief came with the chief's wife, and now Miss Fen didn't see the chief's wife. The chief's wife was in a hurry to leave just now. Who else can be the ancient medical lady? Zhuangshu secretly took a look at his elder's impeccable profile and thought to himself that your aristocratic circle is really good at playing tricks. The couple pretends not to know each other and just deceives honest people like them. Zhuangshu complained secretly in his heart, feeling depressed. He didn't know if Manager Yao, the person who was going to talk to the chief's wife about buying medicine, knew about this. It would be terrible for him if he was also kept in the dark by the chief and his wife. Got it? Unaware that his adjutant had made a mistake, Fen Yuyu had already concluded that the ancient doctor and Mrs. Feng were the same person based on unreliable gossip. At this time, Fen Yuyu looked at the mess in front of him with a smile on his face. Sister, one look at the strange smile on this girl's face that seemed to be gloating about her misfortune, and he knew what was going on in her mind. He twitched the corners of his lips and said, "Your sister-in-law is not here right now. We agreed to meet at Muyuangxing today. You will be able to see her soon. He will soon be able to see what the little woman who quarreled with him looks like, ha." Then he turned to look in the direction Fentangui came from, stood there lazily and asked, "Is the eldest sister here too? Where is she?" Fentangui pouted, moved her position to block his view, and snorted with an unhappy look on her face, "You know how much you care about your eldest sister, but you also brought up the topic of your sister-in-law. No wonder those gossips spread the word that you have deep love for your eldest sister. No regrets, the lingering feelings are still lingering. Where did you leave your sister-in-law?" Not far away, several ladies with exquisite makeup on their faces were jostling each other, and they were full of excitement and wanted to get close to each other, but when they heard this, they immediately stopped. The noble ladies who didn't have the guts to climb high looked excited and excited. They heard the gossip. Recently, young Lord Feng was the hottest topic at the banquet. Now that they have met the real owner, it would be a pity to miss this gossip. Those who are bold and want to covet are not moving at this moment, such as the third Princess Jin Yushin. She has a dignified and elegant smile on her face at this time and seems to be adjusting her skirt. In fact, her ears are raised, waiting. Listen to Fen Yuyu's answer. Compared to Fen Yuyu caring about his poor real wife, she actually hopes that he really likes Shen Beining and that his feelings for her will last forever. After all, Shen Beining and Marshal Huo have a very good relationship, and it is impossible to divorce easily. Fen Yuyu may give up if she can't find a chance to intervene. When the time comes, she can take advantage of the opportunity by proposing a marriage. As for his poor little real wife, she is nothing without Fen Yuyu's feelings. Fen Yuyu will deal with her by himself without her taking action at all. She knows very well the rules within capital and big families, and there is no profit. Not worth lingering on. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 172. But if Fen Yuyu doesn't like Shen Beining, but really likes his poor little wife, it will be a little more difficult. After all, although that woman is not very good, she is a real wife and has been officially registered, so if she wants to get involved, she can. It takes a lot of effort. But there is no need to be afraid. A calculating light flashed in Qin Yushin's beautiful eyes. She had started planning after Fen Yuyu got married a year ago and had made preparations. She was the one who spread the rumor that Fen Yuyu liked Shen Beining in order to drive a wedge between the couple. She didn't believe that the woman who had finally succeeded in marrying Fen Yuyu didn't care or was afraid of Shen Beining. Even if she didn't know it at first, Fen Yuyu explained it to her, but the existence of this rumor day after day, year after year would eventually become a thorn in the woman's throat. And Shen Baining is Fen Yuyu's benefactor who grew up with him and has taken good care of him. Fen Yuyu can never abandon her. In this case, as long as this thorn is exploded, the only one who will be abandoned is an unreasonable woman. But this time when she heard that Fen Yuyu was finally willing to show up with his little wife, and that Shen Baining would also come to Muyuan Star with her, she knew that the opportunity to explode this thorn had come, so she also came with her. The Jupiter Star. Ever since Fen Yuyu became Lord Feng and became the core of the Feng family, she has fallen in love with this man. Whether it is the family capital behind him or his own abilities, he is her best marriage partner. I have long regarded this person as my property, and I can't escape even if he gets married. Qin Yushin had a good plan in mind, and looking at the handsome man not far away, she was sure to win. Fen Yuyu naturally noticed these burning glances. He frowned in disgust, and then secretly cursed the shameless cousin in front of him for asking this question at this time. Didn't he sincerely want to see him perform? Normally, he would be able to speak freely in his performance, showing sweet affection, but when he thought about his guess about his poor wife, he was a little unable to speak, and he felt an inexplicable sense of shame. At this time, Shen Baining wore a camouflage uniform that was easy to move around. She was holding Huo Quanshan's arm, followed by several people also wearing camouflage uniforms and walking towards her. She had a smile on her bright and cheerful face. He waved his hand and shouted loudly, "Waiter, Miss Tang Wei, what are you doing here? Why don't you go in? I heard that Muyuan Star also provides a treehouse for accommodation, which is quite novel. Let's book a few rooms quickly to avoid running out of rooms." Fen Yuyu was about to breathe a sigh of relief when he saw his eldest sister coming, so he changed the subject, but he didn't expect that his bad cousin still refused to let him go. Fen Tanggui waved happily to Shen Baining with a bright smile, "Sister Baining, come on, I'm asking my cousin if he likes you or my sister-in-law. Now while everyone is here, if it's a rumor, then I will quickly clarify the matter in front of you. This has been spreading for more than a year and it still hasn't stopped. My sister-in-law is also here this time. If those gossips buzz in my sister-in-law's ears too much, I'm afraid it affects my sister-in-law's mood." The eyes of the noble ladies who listened with their ears perked up were all bulging out. Damn it, this crazy girl Fen Tanggui really dared to say anything. She was so crazy when she opened her mouth. Qin Yushin could barely maintain the smile on her face, and her eyes looking at Fen Tanggui were filled with darkness. This thing is in the way, ruining her plans. As for Shen Baining, listening to this girl keep saying my sister-in-law, he still doesn't know where this girl is standing. But she wasn't angry either, and the bright smile at the corner of her mouth widened a little. Then she pulled Huo Quanshan, who had a cold look on his face, and walked to Fen Yuyu. The playfulness in his eyes was obvious. "Yes, Xiao, please tell me what you like. Your wife still likes me. I'm thinking that since we haven't done anything to cause misunderstanding, the rumors are getting bigger and bigger. Could it be that you really have a crush on me?" Huo Quanshan looked over with a pair of cold, threatening eyes. Fen Yuyu didn't feel guilty, and rolled her eyes at him, saying speechlessly, "I'm not a pervert, who would have that kind of feelings for my eldest sister? They all have brain diseases and are blind. I don't think eldest sisters does. Your eyes look like you're looking at your sweetheart. You're obviously looking at my mother-in-law." The smile on Shen Baining's lips gradually disappeared. She was just about to teach the brat who hadn't used the tiles for the past 3 days, but who knew that this brat wouldn't be able to stop talking. "And you, brother-in-law, don't look at me with that murderous look. Guarding me is like guarding a thief. Your ice cube face is full of jealousy, and your sourness is almost rising. I seriously doubt that it's you. It's performance that makes those blind things misunderstand. Oh, this wave of shirk of responsibility is so good." Fen Tanggui rolled her eyes and secretly recorded the video. He, I will send this to my sister-in-law later. Although her cousin is such a bitch, externally she still stands by her cousin and must not let those gossips ruin it. Their feelings. She is truly the best sister-in-law in the world. The sister-in-law behind the scenes will never hide her achievements and fame. She can ask her sister-in-law for rewards again. No amount of delicious fruit is too much. Huo Quanzhen's face turned dark, and his deep voice said solemnly, I will find out the source of the rumors and root them out, and punish them severely. He rarely attended banquets and gatherings, and he was even too lazy to listen to the rumors and gossip circulating in the aristocratic circle. He did not expect that this rumor would spread for so long. Now that he has taken some time off from military duties at the border, it is time to straighten out this matter. His wife's reputation is no small matter. Fen Yuyu's lips curled up, then I'll trouble you, brother-in-law, but the person who spread the source is very cunning. I also arranged for people to investigate privately. It hasn't been investigated yet, but with brother-in-law, I believe you can help me a lot. Soon things will come to light and we will find out who spread the rumors with ulterior motives. As he spoke, his pair of enchanting peach blossom eyes looked towards the group of elegant ladies not far away wearing colorful clothes, and his thin lips curled up sarcastically. Maybe the source of the problem lies in this group of people. In the middle, Qin Yushin still had an elegant and dignified smile, but in fact her heart was pounding and she was very panicked. Marshal Huo would actually get involved in this kind of thing. What if they really found out? Just in case, she has never shown her face and hired mercenaries anonymously to do it. There is absolutely no way they will find out about her. Thinking of this, she calmed down and stood out among a group of trembling noble ladies, facing Fen Yuyu, who looked over with her usual dignified smile. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 173. Tisk. Fen Yuyu frowned and looked away in disgust, as if he had seen something disgusting. Qin Yushin pinched her fingers into the palm of her hand. The smile on her face did not change, but the black water in her heart kept rolling like turbulent waves. She was the third most favored princess of her father. How could he look down on her anymore? Could it be because her mother-in-law was a lowly maid? No, the mother-in-law is dead now, and she was promoted to the concubine position by her father and given a title. She is the real and glorious third princess of the Huayao Empire, better than Fen Yuyu. That lowly wife is infinitely more noble. It's all his fault because he is ignorant. Fen Tanggui, who had obtained the chicken feathers as a gift of arrows, swaggered towards this side, with a smile on her delicate face proudly in front of the ladies. You all heard it, my cousin treats Sister Beining as his biological eldest sister. Look, if you really like Sister Beining, it is incest. Sister Beining is still the eldest sister like mother. My cousin regards her as being closer to her than his mother, so you must not spread rumors, otherwise you have ideological and moral problems. Besides, Marshal Huo is still alive. What do you think of Marshal Huo? Sister Beining's real husband has tolerated you so far. He is already very tolerant and generous. If you dare to spread these rumors again, be careful that your family will not be able to save it. You guys, do you know how our Marshal Huo got his reputation as the first marshal? He came to the position by stepping on the marshals of other legions. It will be difficult for any of you to have legion protection. It happened that Marshal Huo's icy eyes glanced over, which made all the ladies tremble with fear. One by one, they dared not speak in anger at Feng Tanggui. The timid ones even lowered their heads and almost knelt down to repent. Feng Tanggui nodded with satisfaction. This wave of power was so good. She cleared her throat and said loudly, "Don't you dare to talk nonsense." The ladies all shook their heads. Don't you dare? Don't you dare? Do you still dare to spread rumors? I don't dare anymore. Do you still dare to dislike my sister-in-law, and privately mock my sister-in-law for her lack of virtue and her appearance? Ladies? Damn, this girl is carrying private goods. Fengtang threatened, do you dare? I don't dare anymore. The heads of the group of noble ladies were lowered, and their voices were much less sincere than before. But Fengtang didn't care. She recorded it anyway. If she catches them talking bad about her sister-in-law in the future, she will definitely release the video on the spot and kill them. Humph. After teaching everyone a lesson, Fengtang was proud and refreshed. However, there was another Qinyushan. This third princess didn't say anything just now. She stood out among a group of cowards, her smile remained unchanged, and she was elegant and dignified. But Fengtang always felt that her whole being was full of disobedience. And according to her observation, the third princess would be present at any banquet where her cousin was present on the main planet some time ago. She also got together with those gossips. Although she didn't say anything and even tried to persuade them not to believe the rumors, but however, Fengtang didn't think that she was born out of mud and was untainted. Instead, she felt that they were a nest of snakes and rats. If it is really pure and flawless, how can it be brought together with the mud? It is not afraid of being stink. But after all, she is a third princess, her weight is different from others, and she has no evidence, so forget it this time. Fengtang glanced at Qinyushan before leaving, then she strolled back with her hands behind her waist. This time she focused on Cao Jiajia behind Fengyuyu. Cousin, she is who is it? I just saw her get off your battleship with my own eyes. As she said that, she secretly became wary. She had not even entered her cousin's Phoenix battleship. How could she let a girl in so casually? Could it be that she was her sister-in-law's love rival? Her sister-in-law is really worried about her sister-in-law, so she must let her sister-in-law reward her with a few more cherries. I heard that the cherries on Wuyuan Star are as big as the head, sucking and sucking, they must be delicious, so I asked my sister-in-law to dig into my cousin's pocket to buy them for her, hee. Cao Jiajia enjoyed watching a group of noble ladies being trained into dogs. What happened? What happened? Why did this brave cousin target her? Cao Jiajia looked confused. Fengyuyu couldn't resist the itching of his hand and knocked Fengtang head on the head, grinding his teeth and said, "Don't be suspicious, who do you think your cousin is? I don't look at everyone it's on." Cao Jiajia, I'm offended, thank you. However, at this time, there was no big boss to protect her body, so she was still quite timid. She nodded like a chicken pecking at rice, yes, I am just a follower. I was lucky enough to follow the boss on a trip to the Phoenix battleship. Boss? Fengtang asked suspiciously, staring at her sincere face. Just as Cao Jiajia was about to explain, Fengyuyu stepped in and said, Fengtang, stop chatting and hurry up to Wuyuan Star. We can still go in while the sky is still dark. Don't you like to see it the most? Have you seen the scenery? Yes, I like to see the scenery the most. Cousin, sister Baining, let's walk in along the road. Hee, the trees here are so big and green, so beautiful. Let's look at the scenery sent to me with my sister-in-law. The photos look too similar. The speaker has no intention, but the listener has intention. Fengyuyu's heart beat loudly twice uncontrollably, and then his eyelids also jumped, indicating that something big was about to happen. Bai Qianchun did not follow the road cleared by the stars to bypass Green Kui City. Instead, she walked through the jungle, following the guidance of the wood element, traveling all the way, and taking the fastest route through Green Kui City. The shortcut goes in the direction of the village. When she arrived at the village and saw the scene inside, Bai Qianchun's breath was suffocated. The star citizens were gathering in an open square outside the village, each with their brows furrowed and expressions of indignation. Outside them, there was a circle of strong men wearing uniform black suits. They all stared at the star people in the circle with wide eyes and serious expressions on their faces. The owner of these strong men in black suits should be the woman who has a unique style among the surroundings and sits on the luxurious throne. This woman has long wavy curly hair, a charming appearance, flaming red lips, and a pair of beautiful eyes that are sparkling and alluring. She is wearing a beautifully embroidered top made of black gauze, with black and red gemstones decorated in the shape of flowers. There are 2 strings of round white pearls hanging around her neck, which shows that she is worth a lot, but the most eye-catching thing is her long, skewed and overlapping legs. The red slit skirt is almost open to the heels of her thighs. She sat lazily on the gemstone throne that was incompatible with seeing, leaning against the back of the chair casually, taking a puff of the lady's pipe in her hand, and then spit out the thin smoke from her red lips, her eyes seductive. Full of posture, coquettish to the core, and a charming royal sister. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 174. There were 2 girls standing next to the throne, both of whom Bai Qianchun had seen in her dreams. One was the female partner Shen Xiang, and the other was Shen Baining's cousin Shen Nangxiao. At this time, Shen Xiang sneered at a group of star citizens with a vicious look on her face, and shouted arrogantly, "His Royal Highness is lucky to like that boy. He doesn't have to drink wine as a penalty for toasting, and how dare these untouchables dare to do so? If you go against His Highness the Prince, teach them a lesson and let them know what the consequences will be if you don't do what you want." Yes, a group of strong men in black suits suddenly showed a fierce look in their eyes, their muscles bulged, and they surrounded the star people in the circle like thugs. They took action directly with murderous intent. As soon as Bai Qianchun stepped onto the branch, her eyes were filled with coldness and her face was gloomy. "I want to see which of you dares to touch my star citizen," she shouted low, followed by stepping on the treetops with her toes and flew into the air, her long black hair blowing in the wind. She flew above the crowd with a strong aura, and then under the excited gazes of the star citizens underground, she sprinkled green vine seeds in all directions, and then 4 giant green vines rose from the ground, suppressing all directions like Optimus pillars and surrounding the thugs in suits. Bai Qianchun flew to the top of one of the giant vines, tapped her toes, and stood tall, looking down expressionlessly. The shadows covering the sky fell, and the eyes of everyone present suddenly came to them. Whether it was the thugs in suits who were actively attacking or the star citizens who were just about to fight back, a group of people all raised their heads and looked up. Star-Lord, when the star citizens saw the familiar figure on the giant vine, their eyes suddenly lit up and they exclaimed, "Sister Chun, you're back!" Looks of surprise appeared on Ye Yang and Leng Xiao's frosty and ruthless faces, and their sharp coldness disappeared in an instant. "Well, I'm back." Bai Qianchun's gaze returned to a soft color after scanning the 2 of them. Fortunately, it wasn't too late to come back. Then her cold eyes were directed at the woman on the throne, and after another cold look at Shen Xiang, she turned back and lowered her head to look down. She slapped the spiritual light ball in her hand and scattered it into 4 strands and crashed into 4 giant vines, followed closely. The 4 giant vines seemed to come to life immediately, waving their thick vine bodies, splitting into countless thin vines, and they shot out as flexibly as green snakes. The vines invaded the crowd one by one, avoiding the star people, and specifically greeted the thugs in suits. The vines pulled out, accompanied by the sound of the whistling wind. Suddenly, the situation in the venue changed drastically. The overwhelming vines were photographed. The thugs in suits turned from hunters into prey in the blink of an eye. They screamed and screamed after being whipped. It was in tatters, without the outermost layer of protection, and each one was quickly beaten to pieces. Even if the metallic superpower surrounds the whole body with gold elements, he still can't escape the vine whipping. One stroke of the gold element was scattered, the second stroke of the golden turtle shell shattered, The third and fourth strokes directly opened the flesh and blood, and now a group of thugs in suits. There was only pain in our minds, and the Tianling guy almost flew out of pain. And the wounds pulled out by these vines seemed to have been sprinkled with salt, and they hurt? Could it be poison ivy? The thugs in suits who cherished their lives were heartbroken. If they hadn't been under His Royal Highness the Prince, they would have knelt down and begged for mercy. But no, begging for mercy would mean surrendering to the enemy. Even if they returned alive, there would be no good fruits to be gained. These tough men burst into tears and gritted their teeth to hold on. Compared with them, who were miserable and were like driven out dogs, the star citizens of Jupiter were happy. They had the preference of the Star Master, and the vines that whipped people so hard did not fall on them at all, not even scratching a corner of their clothes. They also cooperated very wisely and walked out of the dangerous cage woven with vines to make room for the men in suits. Then they walked to one of the main vines and acted as spectators, while watching the people running around on the ground, crying and wailing. The men in suits pointed and gloated. Well, let them dare to run wild on Wuyuan's star, and now they will be taken care of by the Star Master. Ha ha ha, did you see the one who glared at me the most fiercely just now? I didn't expect him to be a weakling. He was the one who got the most slaps because he hid slowly. He really grew so big in vain. He's not even as good as Nongui and the others. Nongui and others, just diss these idiots in suits. Just diss these idiots in suits. Why does it involve them? Are they weak? They were indignant. In such a dangerous vine-whipping formation, they would definitely be able to kneel down faster than these idiots in suits who only had meat but no brains. Hey, do you want to eat melon? There is a watermelon vine growing over there. I saw a big watermelon in the grass. Watermelon, eat, 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 watch while you eat. Don't tell me, I'm really thirsty after facing these cries and howling things for so long. So Hulala Nongui and a few men rushed out, and in a few moments they brought back a big watermelon like a big water tank with smiles on their faces, and said with a silly smile, "Here it comes, the watermelon is here." The villagers immediately brought a large table from the village with a tacit understanding, and a gold-type psychic was in charge of the knife. He rubbed several golden blades and the surface of the large watermelon slice was immediately covered with orderly knife marks. Ya Yang happily greeted Bai Qian-chun, who was still standing on the giant vine. Sister Chun, come down and have a rest. Let's eat melon to fill our stomachs first. It will probably take a while before dinner starts in the evening." Bai Qian-chun was stunned for a moment, watching the star citizens looking up at her, all smiling cheerfully, with no trace of gloom on their smiling faces, and the tone in her heart gradually dissipated. She glanced at the seductive woman who was still sitting on the throne, and saw that her expression did not change, nor was she angry. She was even blowing out smoke rings and watching with interest as her men were being whipped and howling like ghosts. Bai Qian-chun's delicate eyebrows frowned slightly. Is this woman keeping her composure or is she just pretending? In comparison, Shen Shenxiang was in a much more emotional state than she was. Shen Shenxiang, who had been arrogant and domineering just now, with a condescending look on her face, now looked like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, with an ugly face and trembling body. Bai Qian-chun looked away, smiled and nodded at Ya Yang and others. Okay. Then the whole person flew down lightly, like a white butterfly in flight. This figure would be even more beautiful if she put on a skirt. Star-Lord, come and get the first piece. This time Bai Qian-chun boldly took action and taught people a lesson directly, which gained a lot of favorability in front of the star citizens, and they became even more enthusiastic towards her. Bai Qian-chun nodded with a smile, then pointed at one of the incisions, inserted his fingers, and took out the first piece of giant melon with less skin and more flesh. It felt like pulling out a Shangfang sword. As the piece of watermelon was pulled out, the red flesh full of juice was also exposed to everyone. Suck, suck, suck. The star's eyes widened when they saw it. This melon was so good, with very few black seeds. It was perfect for eating in big bites. So the star citizens were not polite. They followed the opening and came to get the melon one after another. They stretched their arms and used their mouths to hook the top of the melon. They acted like eating the melon as swallowing a sword. Just looking at it felt pretty cool. Tease. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 175. When Shen Shenxiang saw that those whipping vines had never been implicated in the three of them, her courage came back. Now looking at the group of star citizens who were eating melons as if they were performing acrobatics, she immediately gritted her teeth angrily and said something immediately rude. Your Highness, these untouchables bully others too much. It depends on the owner to beat a dog. Why are they so arrogant and dare to treat your men like this in front of you? Isn't your warship still parked in the starry skyport? Let's let the army come here and give them a show of strength, so that no one will underestimate you in the future. Shen Nangxiao glared at her with bulging cheeks on her fair little face. Shen Shenxiang, what you did is wrong. It was obviously you who let someone attack first. The star citizens on Wuyuan planet were just self-defense. What did you do? Why do we have to involve the Legion? And why do you call them a pariah? They are the citizens of the upper-class star of the origin star, and they are more noble than you, who is from the middle-class star. Yu Shenchengxiang's eyes were splitting. She didn't expect that this dead girl Shen Nangxiao would dare to stab her in the back. She glared at her angrily. Who are you, from the same country? We were clearly the same before. Good friends, please be careful. I will complain to Her Highness the Third Princess and ask her not to take you to play. Shen Nan smiled and pouted her little mouth. If you don't play with me, you won't play with me. Now I play with Sister Beining, and last time you and the Third Princess hurt my ninth brother. Sister Beining and the eldest brother all blamed him for deceiving young Master Feng with the false news that Sister Beining was ill, and now arranged for him to go to a lower star to do basic soldier mining. Ninth brother will be miserable every day. Send me photos. He is living a very miserable life now and has lost a lot of weight. Look at you again. My ninth brother has been hurt so badly by you and I haven't even heard you mention him once. Humph. It's a big fool that my ninth brother still loves the third princess wholeheartedly and misses her. My sister Beining said that. Yes, you are just heartless bad guys, and I won't end up well if I still hang out with you. Brother ninth went to mine, and I might be fine to pick up garbage, and I don't want to pick up garbage. Shen Chengxiang's eyes were wandering, and she felt a little guilty. We didn't expect that your Sheng family would be so strict with their own children, and you also know that the third princess doesn't like your ninth brother. Everything was done voluntarily by your ninth brother. What does it have to do with me and the third princess? Shen Nan's fair little face as big as a palm was red with anger, and her big watery eyes were full of anger. She shouted loudly, "Okay, you are still shirking responsibility. You are really not a good person. Fortunately, I got a beating. It's time to beat him up. No, my fat beating won't be in vain. I'll beat you to death, you bad guy." The beautiful little girl waved her little hands and directly pulled Shen Shenning's hair. She was well versed in the way of fighting between shrews. Shen Shenxiang, who was still a little guilty, was also angry, and he also grabbed Shen Nangxiao with his backhand, while screaming, "How dare you hit me, Shen Nangxiao, you are just a follower of me and the third princess. If you dare to hit me, I will make you look good. Oh, my hair, I will kill you." The melon-eating stars on the opposite side were dumbfounded. What's going on? What happened while we were eating a melon? Why did those two women start fighting among themselves? Ya Yang, who was eating melon next door, was also confused. I don't know either. He took 2 bites of the melon, then looked thoughtful, but it must be the fault of the blue skirt named Shen Shenxiang. When I led the way for the female prince, it was the blue skirt who suggested that I be the 18th daughter of the female prince. He's a little man, and the one in the pink dress with big watery eyes even spoke for me. And there's this. The star citizens immediately said, then why don't we help the little girl in the pink dress? Her hair has been pulled up a lot by the blue dress. Hey, isn't she bald? Yang stared in that direction. The pink skirt had already picked up the third hair of the blue skirt. Now he broke free of the blue skirt's hand, pulled the blue skirt and threw it cleanly over the shoulder, and then sat on the blue skirt. Hit her. Yang immediately shook his head seriously, no need now, I will give her a hair growth pill made by Sister Chun later. Don't be afraid if your hair is pulled bald. If you take a few more pills, it will grow back. The star citizens who had already seen the effects of hair growth pills nodded, young boy Yang is right. However, a careful old lady disagreed. No matter whether it grows back or not, it is very painful to have your hair pulled out. Bai Qian-chun also paid attention to Shen Nangxiao. She actually didn't know much about the youngest girl in the Sheng family. She only knew that she often followed the third princess Jin Yushan. Later, after Shen Shensiyang died, she took the initiative to leave Qin Yushan's circle. Following the footsteps of other children of the Sheng family, he joined the army. The only impression I have of her is that she is a transparent person and an innocent girl. Hey, it's reversed and reversed. The blue skirt has the upper hand. She suppresses the pink skirt and is about to swing her fist down. Bai Qian-chun immediately frowned, and the nearest giant vine split into a thin vine, which wrapped around the waist of Shen Xiang in the blue skirt. Shen Chengxiang's eyes widened in horror, and then she screamed and was thrown into a group of vines by the thin vines, and went to keep company with the howling thugs in suits. Shen Xiang's skin was thin and tender, but not as thick as these men's. As soon as the cane was removed, a deep blood mark was left on her arm. She covered her arm, crying and screaming in horror, "Ah, it hurts, Your Highness the Prince, Your Highness the Prince, help me, Your Highness the fourth Prince asked you to take good care of me." On the throne, the suit bodyguard under him was whipped and did not move. The two girls beside the throne were rolling and fighting on the ground but did not move. The charming brows of the female prince suddenly frowned slightly, and a rich and gloomy dark color almost disappeared, and then it returned to normal. Normal. She tapped her lady's pipe on the armrest of the throne, blew out the smoke ring with her flaming lips, looked towards Bai Qian-chun with her beautiful eyes, and chuckled at the corner of her mouth, "I wonder if Star Master can give me some face and let this little girl go. This little girl can't die just because she's been entrusted by someone else." Bai Qian-chun took the last bite of the melon, put the rind on the empty table, then wiped her fingers and walked towards the woman opposite, looked into the eyes of the female prince and asked quietly, "What about your men?" The female prince puffed out a thin smoke from her red lips, which carried a faint orchid fragrance. Then she raised the corners of her mouth and said with a sarcastic smile, "Oh, what's the use of keeping a subordinate who can't recognize his master? It's cleaner to die." Shen Nan, who was still sitting on the ground and had not calmed down, smiled and his eyes widened in astonishment. His big watery eyes were filled with disbelief that His Highness the Prince would actually say such a thing. Can't those people recognize the master? It seems that they just took action after listening to that guy Shen Chengxiang's words. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 176. Walking in along the cleared green path, you are surrounded by lush green. From time to time, a group of people will find some big surprises in the grass and shrubs, such as tomatoes hanging high like red lanterns, and the hair of a large hedgehog. Chestnuts, big red apples as big as heads, and grapevines coiled around giant trees, with heavy bunches of big grapes hanging from the vines. Each purple grape is as big as a normal apple, which is extremely novel. This giant botanical garden is an absolute paradise for those who love plants or fruits. Smelling the fresh and natural scent of grass and trees, and occasionally the fragrance of fruit, not to mention the two cousins Fenyuyu and Fengtangui who were walking in front and usually loved eating fruit, they were in a happy mood. The face of the 1,000-year-old ice cube that owed him 10 billion was also extremely soft at this time, as if his body and mind had been cleansed, and his cold thin lips also curved. Of course, there are people who are unhappy. For example, the group of noble ladies who followed behind had to walk together. Today, in order to show off their family heritage and to prevent the mysterious Muyuan Star Lord from looking down upon them, they were fully prepared. I specially selected the most exquisite and luxurious dress, wore expensive gemstones and jewelry, and made an exquisite and beautiful look, just to make a shining appearance. But the reality is completely different from what they imagined, far beyond their imagination. Muyuan Star Master did not come to greet them, and there was no guide to guide them. Only a cold wooden sign at the intersection gave them instructions. Above the wooden sign, "Welcome tourists from afar, please follow this road." Although the fruits of Muyuanxing are very attractive and the flowers are beautiful, please do not pick them at will. You must meet with the people of Muyuanxing and negotiate the price. Sign a contract before picking. This is also the reason why everyone restrained themselves from doing anything when they saw the tempting fruits on both sides of the road along the way. But these are not the main point. The main point is that the road they are walking is narrow, and the grass leaves and tree branches on both sides will catch their skirts from time to time. In addition, the ground underfoot is not luxurious and expensive synthetic tiles, nor ordinary stone tiles, but a bare, natural, and simple earth floor with nothing paved at all. It is full of fresh and fragrant earthy smell. Looking down, you can see a few squirming earthworms in the dark and fluffy soil from time to time. Hey, is this a path worthy of wearing their shoes worth millions? The ladies, who had never been to such a natural and simple place, were left panting and embarrassed. The wide skirts caused them a lot of difficulties, especially those who were desperate and wore long skirts. The noble ladies walked even more crookedly, and were extremely embarrassed. They even had the urge to tear their skirts. After more than 20 minutes, these delicate ladies no longer even complained, their eyes were dull, only mechanical, and numb. Gan, I can't walk anymore, destroy it. Rumble. Suddenly, there was a vibration under their feet. They subconsciously raised their heads and looked forward not far away. They saw 4 towering giant vines that surpassed the giant tree and shot straight into the sky. The split vines on the giant vines were raging, stirring up the wind and clouds, and making the entire green forest tremble. Everyone became turbulent. What followed was a knife-shaped light and shadow emerging, a light golden color full of light, but the condensed red sword shape was full of murderous aura, cutting off green vines without any hesitation. The vines fell like rain, but when they reached the sky, they turned into little green lights and disappeared in the air. However, the red sword-shaped light blade didn't get much benefit. It couldn't break free from the vine cage and couldn't escape the besieged situation. It was soon smashed into pieces like a mirror, cracked, and dissipated in the wind. The few people still walking in the green forest looked shocked and surprised. Red Luo Deo, isn't that the symbol of the Emperor's aunt's supernatural power? Why did she do it here? The third princess exclaimed, but in fact she knew it very well in her heart. Shen Shenxiang had already sent her a message just now. Aunt Huang seemed to have taken a liking to a star citizen on Wuyuan planet and wanted to take him back to be the 18th man. Unfortunately, the boy didn't know what to do and didn't agree. Fenyu raised his head and looked in that direction, his peach blossom eyes narrowed. He had a strong hunch in his heart that it was the woman who had taken action against the romantic female prince. Sheng Baining and Huo Quancheng also frowned, with solemn expressions. Did the female prince take action on Wuyuan planet at the beginning? Thinking of the absurd and powerful style of the female prince in recent years, she would even use they couldn't help but worry about the legion's unscrupulous use of force to deal with others. Compared with the female prince, they are actually on the side of Jupiter. After all, they are all 7 origin stars. Not to mention helping each other, but they don't want anything to happen to Jupiter, let alone more than a year ago. Mu'un was also a hero in jointly resisting the invasion of the Orc Empire, and he was considered half of their comrade in arms. A group of like-minded people speeded up and ran towards the direction of the incident, not even paying attention to the surrounding red silk cloth that looked like a god. At this time, on the other road, and yes family, who were coming from the wedding venue, were walking this way slowly. The two groups of people met at a crossroads. As soon as Sheng Xiaoxiao saw Sheng Baining among them, a surprised smile appeared on her face. "Baining, you are here." Well, Sheng Baining paused and smiled at her. The anxious expression on his face softened a little. Then he grabbed Sheng Xiaoxiao, who was half a Mu'un star, and asked, "Do you know what's ahead? What's going on? Who did the female prince fight with?" "It should be our Mu'un star master, she is back," Sheng Xiaoxiao said with a smile, and then reassured her not to worry. "I communicated with the star citizens. Although I don't know the specific situation, they asked us to take our time. Don't worry, nothing serious should have happened." As soon as she finished speaking, there was another loud bang, and 3 giant vines rose up in front of the sky again, followed by the shadow of the red Luo knife slashing towards the west. In an instant, countless giant trees collapsed, and the sound echoed throughout the green land. Their ears could clearly hear the whine of those giant trees falling down. Sheng Baining's expression was subtle. "It's no big deal." The smile on the corner of Sheng Xiaoxiao's mouth also froze. "Well, maybe it's just a bit loud. Let's go over and take a look. We'll know what's going on." Aunt Ye looked at the few people in front of her with a happy face. "Oh, they are all acquaintances, the first Marshal Huo Yuanhui, the young lord of the Feng family, and the thunderous Miss Sheng Baining of the Sheng family." She was a person with a big background, so she said that this time the wedding ceremony was done right on Mu'un planet. If all these people could come to participate, the Shui family would be very proud. So Aunt Ye agreed with her daughter-in-law enthusiastically. Yes, our Mu'un star master is very powerful. This little movement is nothing. Let's go in and take a look. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 177. By the time the two groups of people arrived, the noise of the fighting had subsided. After passing a row of giant trees covering the sky, they saw the source of the fighting. Hiss. Everyone who saw the situation clearly took a breath, and the timid ladies began to scream in fear. In the empty square ahead, there were only 4 giant green pillars left. On the thin vines hanging from the pillars were hanging corpses dripping with blood. Their limbs were weak, their heads were drooping, and the blood had not yet soaked up the wounds with their flesh torn apart. It was clotted, and blood was still dripping down. The entire square looked like a place for corpses to be hung out. Coupled with the blood-red sunset on the horizon and the remaining traces of battle on the ground, the red blood and rags, it looked like a horrific scene. At this time, 2 women were standing in front of the horrific scene, facing them sideways. The taller woman had a voluptuous figure, wearing a bright red slit skirt that went straight to her thighs. She was holding a woman's pipe and squinting her seductive lips. Her beautiful eyes are puffing out smoke rings. The other petite woman was dressed more simply and casually. She was wearing a mask and had the optical brain interface turned on. Her exposed eyebrows were as plain as water and she didn't know what she was doing. But people with good hearing can still hear their conversations. Feng Yuyu was one of them. He heard the ancient doctor who had just separated from him say, "You have destroyed the environment on Mu'un planet. A row of giant trees and several fruit trees were knocked down by your light blade just now. According to the regulations we just asked, you need to compensate me for the loss. The price of an ordinary giant tree is calculated as 1,000 star coins, and a fruit tree is worth 10,000 stars. The grass and flowers that were crushed cannot be missed. The price depends on the type of flower. Grass can be cheaper, 1 star coin per plant. If there are wild vegetables or herbs, then the price will be different. Your Highness, please rest assured. The grass and flowers on our Muyuan planet are all very big. Star citizens can definitely count them clearly. Please wait a moment, Your Highness. If Your Highness trusts me, you can go and rest first. I will give you the compensation list later. The tone was quite serious, and the main theme was one, compensation. The corner of Fen Yuyu's mouth twitched, and he knew that this woman had this money-hungry style. But weren't they shaking the ground just now? Why are they calmly discussing compensation now? What's even more strange is that the female prince, who was rumored to be romantic and ridiculous since her husband's death, behaved extremely cruelly and strangely, and had a volatile temper, was actually calm at this time, not at all angry as after the fight, and even looked like she was. His lazy and leisurely appearance was almost too calm to be true. She spoke with a mature woman's deep voice and raised her red lips. It's up to you. Anyway, I have a lot of star coins. You can use them as you like. There's no problem in adding an extra 0. Bai Qian-chun, really? Then I can add it? The female Prince Qin Menyun raised her lips and laughed, he, whatever you want. Bai Qian-chun, I won't take advantage of you too much. I can provide you with a short tree house and give you a free coupon for the vegetarian barbecue party in the evening. Qin Menyun's charming eyes raised. Oh, the little fresh meat with a sweet smile said that the barbecue sauce you use is very delicious. Applying 2 layers of it tastes better than barbecue. Bai Qian-chun frowned and said, displeased, what a sweet little guy with a sweet smile. His name is Ye Yang. He is my younger brother. We just agreed that if I win, you can no longer covet him. What's the point? 18 little men don't even think about it, and they also have to pay a surprise fee. Qin Menyun clicked his tongue and laughed in ecstasy, you are such a boring woman. Men only use it to enjoy themselves in time. Bai Qian-chun, no more free barbecue coupons. Qin Menyun paused and said, okay, let's not talk about it anymore. It's just a shock payment. Here, add 0 to the compensation to be the shock payment for him. Bai Qian-chun was overwhelmed by her excitement, and then she suggested seriously, how about you choose another one? I think Du Le is very good, and then we have another fight, and you add 0 for the shock fee. This time it was Qin Menyun's turn to be speechless. No, even though the boy named Du Le is from the same model, his temperament is not as lovable as Ye Yang's. Du Le, who was diligently eating melons behind a hanging corpse. Should he be grateful for the favor he looked down upon? Or should I cry because a large sum of compensation flew away? Not far away, Fen Yuyu and others, who were originally shocked by the horrific scene, breathed a sigh of relief after listening to their conversation, and then became speechless for a while. Sister-in-law Feng Tanggui, who was standing next to Fen Yuyu, shouted excitedly, and then ran forward. Then Fen Yuyu saw with her own eyes that the petite little ancient doctor who was facing them turned around. She looked at the person running over and raised her eyebrows in surprise. Why Wei, why are you here? Feng Tanggui rushed over and hugged her, laughing and saying, I heard that sister-in-law, you are on Wuyuan planet, so I followed Sister Beining here. Then she suddenly became excited, sister-in-law, are you the Wuyuan Star Lord? Just now Sheng Xiaoxiao had a fight between Wuyuan Star Lord and His Highness the Prince. I guess sister-in-law, you must be the Wuyuan Star Lord. Bai Qian-chun's eyes narrowed when he heard this, patted her arm, and chuckled, Wai Wei is so smart, she guessed it right. Feng Tanggui suddenly became more excited, I know sister-in-law, you are not an ordinary person. Since sister-in-law, you are the master of Muyuan Star, can I eat fruits for free? I just saw a lot of fruits on the road. A big cherry tree. The fruits are as big as a head and very red. They look delicious. Suck, sip, sip. Bai Qianchun smiled helplessly. Okay, that's right, you can eat whatever fruits you want on Muyuan planet. My sister-in-law is so kind. A child with a sister-in-law is like a treasure. The sister-in-law and sister-in-law reunited after a long absence and talked happily together, but they did not lower their voices deliberately, and everyone who should hear heard them. Feng Yuyu's whole body was like a bolt from the blue, his eyes were a little straight, but there was a thought in his heart that this was indeed the case. This black-hearted and cold-hearted ancient doctor is indeed Bai Qianchun. He didn't know what he was thinking. He could say he was happy, but when he thought about the humiliation of losing his skills and being pressed by this woman on the cold washstand, he couldn't hold back a breath of bad breath. But he couldn't say he was happy. Well, no, although the ancient doctor is a bit cold, has a bit of a venomous mouth, and is a bit harsh on others, and she doesn't give him a good look, but she is beautiful. Moreover, she has abilities, strength, pills, is smart, and has a high status. The most important thing is that she does not seem to have any disgusting thoughts about him as other women do. Feng Yuyu feels that she possesses the position of his other half in the spouse column made him very comfortable, and he even felt secretly grateful and happy in his heart. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 178. Zhuangshu puffed out his chest, with a look of pride on his serious face. See if he guessed it right. Sure enough, the chief and his wife were just having a little fun as husband and wife. Tisk tisk, the chief and his wife really know how to play. I can't hide it anymore. In comparison, Shen Beining's expression was much more shocked, and her jaw almost dropped in shock. Gu doctor is your wife, she turned to look at Feng Yuyu in surprise, with a depressed expression and said heartbrokenly, the second child has grown up, and even I, the eldest sister, has been deceived. It was agreed that his wife, Xiao Mao, was ill and couldn't leave the house. Fortunately, she had been sincerely concerned about her second daughter-in-law's health. She spent a lot of time thinking about it a few days ago and asked many doctors to write a training list to enhance physical fitness, planning to bring it out during this meeting. As a meeting gift, it was said that there were a lot of good medicinal materials on Muyuan planet. She also brought enough star coins to buy them for her younger siblings to replenish their health. It can be said that the eldest sister's heart was broken. But now she was actually told that this powerful ancient doctor with superb medical skills, who could fight in earth-shattering fights, and could string people up into bloody corpse and hang them up was her weak, sickly, fragile little sister-in-law. Isn't this a joke on her? She has prepared a list of training to enhance physical fitness. She is a serious doctor, but I am much more professional than her. Sister Shanda felt panicked. When the two of them pretended not to know each other on the Sheng family starship, they pretended to be quarreling with each other so well that even she and her Marshal Huo didn't notice. Primary school is also a ruthless person. She wanted to give the ancient medicine, her second brother, and Xiao Lang, who did not see him jumping up and slamming. What else? The ancient doctor lady is sharp-tongued and cunning. Someone with such a good temper like second brother Shen will definitely not be able to suppress her. For the sake of second brother Shen, we have to find a gentler daughter-in-law. As for this ancient medical lady, in terms of temperament, she is more compatible with the fourth brother. She still remembers these words clearly to this day. She looked at the fourth brother for sure and would not agree. She rejected her second brother and calculated the result carefully, hiding it from her. This eldest sister is alone. Speaking of which, there is Xiaoxi. Ever since he joined the Feng group as the general manager, he has been venting his anger on Xiao Er. Could it be that he also knows that the ancient doctor is Xiao Er's wife? No wonder he refused to agree to the red line given to him in the first place. Shen Beining, who believed that Fen Yuyu and his wife had deceived her, felt sad and depressed, and then sighed, alas, the son cannot help his mother, after all, he has a wife and has forgotten his mother. Fen Yuyu seemed to have thought of what happened on the Sheng family starship, and pursed her lips in embarrassment. I'm sorry, eldest sister. Although he was an uninformed person at the beginning, who knew that he and the ancient doctor were actually a registered couple now. What else could he do now if he didn't shoulder the blame for his wife's troubles? Alas, only Yao Wengxian could understand his troubled and awkward mood at this time about being able to carve out a 3-story villa. Shen Beining closed her eyes hard, and all the complicated emotions finally turned into helplessness. Forget it, you two, just have fun on your own. Otherwise, how could she throw away the younger brother she had grown up with? Then she muttered, it's a pity that the meeting gift I prepared before can't be used. I have to think about something better. Huo Quancheng patted the back of her hand on his arm comfortingly, and his low, magnetic voice whispered in her ears, I'll help you pick it up tonight. Zhuangshu listened to the whole process and was amazed. It turns out that even Major General Beining and Marshal Huo didn't know that the ancient doctor was the wife of the chief. He suddenly felt proud again. As expected of him, he had guessed it a long time ago, one step ahead of the Major General and Marshal. Impossible, impossible, how could she be that woman? Qin Yushin murmured as she stood in the middle of a group of frightened noble ladies, her eyes staring at the petite figure, and her sharp nails dug into the palm of her hand. Who is the woman standing in front of a row of hanging bloody corpses? You can tell from Feng Tangui's words just now. She is the Star Master who reopened Jupiter, the master of the planet they are standing on. And she also has another identity, an ancient doctor. She heard all the words ancient medicine that Shen Beining blurted out just now. This woman was the ancient doctor who had made pills to repair the superpower core of superpowers and to unblock the blocked tendons of superpowers just now. More than 3 hours ago, she saw this name from her second brother's information, as well as what she did in the Yao Guangxing sanatorium. Whether it's a repair pill to repair the superpower core or a vitality pill to treat blocked tendons, this woman only needs one of these to become famous in the Huayao Empire and live a lifetime of glory. Although the news on the shaking light star is now blocked, how can the capable forces not know that an ancient doctor has appeared? Now the vitality pill and the repair pill are just secrets among many high-level forces. But no matter what, the ancient doctor is now a person who cannot be offended and is a target worth wooing. The value shown by the ancient doctor's identity is even more exciting and weighty than the Muyuan Star Master. Now, Fen Yuyu's wife turned out to be her, an ancient doctor and the master of Muyuan Star. No matter which identity she had, she was stronger than her identity as the third princess who only had a false title and was only loved by her father. Will Fen Yuyu abandon the ancient doctor and choose to marry her, the third princess? Before, if Fen Yuyu's wife was just a weak and pitiful orphan, she might have had a 90% chance, but now, she doesn't even have a 10% chance. But how could Qin Yushin be willing to do so? How could she give up so easily for the man she had planned for so long and put so much effort into getting? Her eyes were filled with hatred, her eyes were splitting, and she could no longer maintain the dignity and elegance of a princess. Fortunately, everyone's attention is now focused on Fen Yuyu and the shocking news they just learned, and no one pays attention to her, the third princess. Although the noble ladies don't know as much as Qin Yushin, some of them are already thinking about shrinking back just by seeing that little Lord Feng's wife is actually the host of Muyuan Star. What's more, her background is full of blood. Corpse, at first glance, it was the bodyguards of His Highness the Prince. Now they have all been cleaned up, and they are still horrific. The visual effect is extremely strong, and the fear in their hearts is add one add one add one. If anyone here dares to steal the title of Little Lord, it would be true love. They don't want to become one of these bloody corpses. Isn't it good to live? However, a stubborn true love still appeared in the team. She said angrily in a low voice, "It's the Muyuan Star-Lord. What's wrong with her strength? She must be an ugly person wearing a mask and dare not show up to others. There wasn't anyone before. Are you talking about her disfigurement? How can an ugly woman be worthy of being named a young lord?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 179. Shen Baining frowned and looked over. What could this noble daughter of the Wang family say? How could her younger brother and sister be an ugly woman with a disfigured face? Not to mention that advanced light power users can heal scars now. Let's just say that her younger brother and sister are highly skilled in medicine. How could the miracle doctor not be able to heal the injury on his face? Feng Yu also glanced over indifferently, and sneered in his heart. In terms of beauty, no one present could compare with his wife, including Qin Yushan, who stood tall and raised her neck like a peacock, and the main star of the year. Qin Menyuan, a beautiful female prince, no one can compare with her. Even her eldest sister is a little behind. Of course, everyone has their own preferences for radish and cabbage, and he likes the ones that are soft and delicate. He doesn't appreciate the bright and majestic ones like the eldest sister, or the seductive ones like the female prince. The eldest sister is suitable for being a child. The elder respects her, and only her daughter-in-law, who looks so delicate, can take care of her in his hands. However, she can only look at her appearance. Once she uses her mouth or hands, she won't be able to do it. Most men can't handle it anyway. What do you mean? The boss is an ugly guy who dares not show his face. It blinds your dog eyes. The boss is so good looking. He is 1,000 times 10,000 times prettier than you. He is simply a top-notch beauty. His beauty is delicious. I can eat 10 more after watching it. Let's make some dumplings. Cao Jiajia, who was left behind in the crowd of noble ladies after running slowly, immediately jumped up and gave a righteous retort to the noble lady of the Wang family who said bad things. The noble daughter of the Wang family, who originally spoke in a low voice, suddenly turned red in the face and asked angrily, "Have you seen it?" Cao Jiajia snorted, "Of course I have seen it, otherwise how can I say it is beautiful and delicious?" The noble daughter of the Wang family was stunned and speechless on the spot. The confrontation here was clearly heard by everyone present. Feng Yu nodded in agreement. He looked really good at eating, and he drank a few more sips of milk tea. The female prince Qin Menyun turned around, her charming eyes half squinted, the corners of her mouth with a hint of bruise raised in a playful manner, and she smiled lazily at Bai Qianshan. "You see, some people doubt your beauty. Why are you still wearing this black mask of yours? It looked so good when you took it off when you were eating watermelon. I have never seen a girl like you who doesn't like to show her face." Bai Qianshan, who was separated from Feng Tanggui, glanced at her and said softly, "Fight to prevent the wind and sand." Then he stared at the corner of her mouth and said meaningfully, "Be careful not to get slapped in the face." Qin Menyun. The little girl has quite a temper. Ah. Qin Menyun had a slight smile on his face, and then said, "Aren't we going to have a barbecue? Can we start?" "Yes." Bai Qianshan nodded, "We have already asked the star citizens to prepare. You can just go in. Do you still want the people hanging above?" Qin Menyun, "Yes, although they can't recognize who the master is, I believe they can recognize it now after this lesson." Bai Qianshan, "What if it's still not there?" Qin Menyun smiled carelessly, and the temperature of his voice dropped by 1 degree, "Then give him another beating." Bai Qianshan nodded, "Okay, if another beating doesn't work, you can send them to me for a labor camp." I have more work to make them tired and obedient. Qin Menyun was stunned for a moment, then smiled clearly. So your purpose is here, that's fine. Didn't you say you have better tobacco leaves here? If you can really produce them better than the ones I use now, if you grow orchids that taste better, let alone these people, you can also bring over the soldiers from my battleship and let them help you do it for 2 days. Baikin Chun's eyes suddenly brightened. It's a deal. Qin Menyun laughed and said, it's a deal. After the two of them looked at each other and smiled, they tacitly agreed not to talk about this topic again, and then called Du Li, who was hiding behind the corpse to eat melon and watch the fun, to come over and lead Qin Menyun over, while she took Feng Tanggui towards the place not far away. A lot of people walked over. Come here, sir, and his wife are here, Zhuang Shu's voice whispered excitedly. Feng Yuyu's ears turned red uncomfortably, and he moved to the side to prevent this stupid adjutant from making his face red as well. Seeing Bai Qianchun getting closer and closer, the sister-in-law and sister-in-law walked side by side, and the silly little cousin's face was flushed, and she happily raised her chin at him and showed off her power, which made him feel uncomfortable. Feng Bai Qianchun looked at him coldly with a pair of dark eyes. As soon as he opened his mouth and shouted a word, Feng Yuyu's heart suddenly thumped. It's over. They haven't finished the lines yet. So he immediately interrupted her with a loud smile and shouted impatiently, honey, we are here, let me introduce you. As he said that, he strode out of the crowd, walked to Baikin Chun's side with his long and slender legs in 3 or 2 steps, pushed the little shabby cousin aside, and occupied the position on Baikin Chun's left hand, but after seeing her strength, he didn't dare to directly pick up her hanging little hand. He only dared to use his arm to touch her shoulder, creating the impression that they were a loving couple and they were intimate. Bai Qianchun glanced sideways at him, and saw Feng Yuyu's beautiful and romantic peach blossom eyes trying to convey to her, acting, remember the 200 million performance fee, it starts now. Bai Qianchun looked into his eyes and waited until he was about to get cramps. Then she curved the corners of her mouth to show that she understood. After Feng Yuyu breathed a sigh of relief, he felt that this woman was deliberately torturing him. She was so smart and easy to use. On the starship, she could tell at a glance that he gave her the VIP card to trick her. Now he used it. How come there are so many looks in my eyes that I haven't noticed for a long time? Feng Yuyu didn't believe it, this woman did it on purpose. He gritted his teeth in his heart, but in the end he had no choice but to compromise. He chose his wife, and he had to finish the performance on his knees. But fortunately, Bai Qianchun didn't lose her temper anymore. Just listen to her sweet voice in her clear spirit, which is a little warmer than the cold and ruthless attitude towards him on the shaking star. Husband, thank you for covering me up on the main star, otherwise I would also. It's not that easy to restart Jupiter. Feng Yuyu was surprised. He lowered his head to look at her exposed dark eyes, and felt a little moved in his heart. She was telling him a lie. This can explain why he pretended to have his wife by his side even though she was not on the main star, and often showed affection to her. As for why her words were not easy and how much they made other people think of them, they didn't have to explain. No one could force them to say it, especially her. They could just excuse her by saying she had hard reasons. In addition, those words of affection that Feng Yuyu said at the banquet and the words that established her character no longer need to be attached to her. It can be said that Feng Yuyu made them up for some reasons. In this way, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, it's amazing. After Feng Yuyu silently analyzed her words in his mind, he had to admire her brain. The ancient hospital was worthy of being an ancient doctor. The clues had already started to show when she played with him on the starship. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 180. In order to live up to the ladder she built, Feng Yuyu quickly entered the scene. His thin lips curved in a perfect arc, and a pair of enchanting peach blossom eyes on the evil face looked at Bai Qianchun tenderly, as if he was melting people away. His usually lazy voice was full of affection at this time. "No hard work, I will do anything for you, my wife." Fen Tanggui, who was originally not satisfied with being snatched away by her cousin and wanted to snatch it back, was shocked to the spot. Her eyes widened in shock and astonishment. Is this still her annoying cousin with big pig hooves? Since when did you become so good at talking? And what's with this line that's so sweet and greasy that it makes your heart tremble and your skin gets goosebumps all over your body? Also, wasn't my sister-in-law so angry that her cousin ran away from home to travel to relax and search for memories? Why did it turn into a smoke bomb that was agreed upon with my cousin? Fen Tanggui didn't understand whether the relationship between her cousin and sister-in-law was truly harmonious or fake. Which news was true and which news was false? Fen Tanggui couldn't tell. Although she thought it was more likely to be the former, her sister-in-law didn't say anything at the moment, so she could only stand there timidly, not embarrassed to step forward and take her position back. Bai Qianchun's mouth twitched and she couldn't say anything. She felt that she could already imagine Fen Yuyu's tone and behavior when he used her to show his affection at the main star banquet. However, Bai Qianchun, who has a strong psychological quality and didn't even blink when the knife was stabbed into her body, quickly regained her composure. Because she was wearing a mask and others couldn't see her expression, she tried her best to relax her eyebrows and seize the opportunity. He said, "That's just right. I happen to have something that I need to help you with a little bit more. My Jupiter planet has just started and it doesn't have its own transport ship yet. I would like to borrow the Feng family's transport ship to help transport some goods." The charming smile on Fen Yuyu's lips froze, and her moved little heart snapped back to its original position. Haha, this woman asked for his 200 million performance fee, which was not enough. She also wanted to use the free transport ship. This is no better than 200 million star coins are worth even more. Damn it, I fell into this woman's trap. Bai Qianchun didn't give him a chance to think of a strategy. She looked at him and said with a smile, "You must be willing to help, right?" Fen Yuyu's smile was still affectionate, but in her heart she gritted her teeth and squeezed out one word, "Yes." What else could he do if he didn't agree with her words? He had already said "I'm willing to do anything" just now, so he could still slap himself in the face on the spot. The only thing to blame is that I was blinded by such a slight touch just now. The ancient doctor is still the same black-hearted and cold-hearted ancient doctor who can deceive people and make them grit their teeth while talking and laughing. Bai Qianchun was satisfied and immediately made plans to register an account and market the Muyuan star giant fruit. She had to open up her popularity as early as possible. Now that the enthusiasm for the reopening of Jupiter has not dissipated, she had to spread the giant fruits on Jupiter within the empire as soon as possible. This was the first way to expand the business and popularity of Jupiter. Step. Xingmei is engaged in tourism picking, and Xin Wang is engaged in sales. Both hands must be strong. In the past, we only planned to carry out self-picking for in-star tourism, but there was no transportation channel to take a step back. Now that transportation channels are coming to your doorstep, naturally you have to choose a more perfect plan. No one could understand the contest between the two. Except for Huo Quancheng, who was calm throughout the whole process. He raised his eyebrows and saw some clues. Others could not see through their acting skills at all. Shen Beining's face was full of joy when she saw it, and the light of a loving old mother in her eyes was almost blinding. Cao Jiajia sighed in her heart. At this moment, she had recovered from the shock. She didn't expect that the boss could be even bigger. The master of Muyuan Star was also her. What was even more exciting was that she was the top male in the empire. God, the legendary nameless and faceless wife of the richest man named Yu Yufeng. Regarding Senior Feng and their first military academy, there are also various legends about his endless love. It is said that he was the #1 male idol in the academy back then, and he was also ranked #1 in the military academy's most popular rankings. Even Marshal Huo, the first marshal, could not surpass him in popularity. After all, although Marshal Huo was powerful, he kept a low profile, but Senior Feng couldn't keep a low profile just by looking at his blue-faced face. But this is not the reason why Senior Feng is famous in the military academy. There is another reason why he has become a top figure. All he relies on are 360 venomous words to reject girls that will make them retreat without using any curse words. The most handsome male god on campus has a handsome face, but he is a widower. Feng the Senior for one night among the top 10 most popular male idols on the list. He topped the list but refused to share the same frame with the campus goddess, who can compare to the Senior Feng, who is single based on his ability and other related tag topics. It is these topics that fully prove his hatred of women that have kept him at the top of the list of popular love topics on the military academy intranet for many years. Anyway, so far, no influential figure in the first military academy can surpass his popularity. As a student of the first military academy, Cao Jiajia naturally knew about the various great achievements of Senior Feng. I also know that the senior has the label of no one loves him when he is ridiculed. Now the boss of the family has become the wife of the unfaithful Senior Feng, and has directly taken care of the most difficult senior. From this perspective, the boss is also extremely powerful. As a little fan of the boss, today is another day to call for the boss. Compared to the joy they had here, there was a dark cloud filling the sky above the heads of the ladies over there. Ying ying ying, seeing is believing, the enemy is so strong, and the love between the two is so loving, can they do it? Qin Yushan even bit it into pieces with her silver teeth. From the moment she stepped into Muyuan Star, all her plans fell apart. First, that woman Feng Tanggui was nosy, and now she witnessed Feng Yuyu's intimacy with his wife. The root of reason in her heart was the string broke with a bang, and a vicious plan gradually took shape in her heart. Ancient medicine, let's wait and see. Sensing the malice, Bai Qianchun subconsciously turned her head and looked over, and met Qin Yushan's eyes that had not yet had time to restrain their malice. She raised her eyebrows slightly, knowing in her heart that it was Feng Yuyu's rotten peach blossoms again, tisk tisk. But she felt very calm now. After all, she had encountered Li Hang before, but Feng Yuyu had neatly dealt with him. I have to say that this man is quite capable at tearing apart peach blossoms with his own hands. What are you looking at? Feng Yu's jade face lowered slightly, his warm breath sprayed on the side of his face, and then his voice sounded faintly, what's so interesting about those people? They are just a bunch of ugly monsters. Come here. Let me introduce my eldest sister and eldest brother-in-law. The ugly and noble ladies were so angry that they almost cried. Young Lord Feng's poisonous tongue was still so irritating. Qin Yushan tightened her palms and almost turned black on the spot. No matter how calm she was, her mentality collapsed when she heard that the man she liked ranked her among the ugly ones.